Hey, auto shop owners. If you've ever stared at a blank screen trying to write job ads or follow-up messages or Facebook posts to attract texts, this GPT changes the game. Jason Perkins isn't just another AI tool. He's a recruiting assistant trained on 7 years of real-world technician hiring conversations. He knows what techs care about and what makes them ghost. In this demo, I'll show you how Jason writes scroll-stopping social posts, engaging re-engagement messages, compelling offers, and yes, even ads that actually get clicks. This is the unfair advantage for shop owners who want to hire faster, communicate better, and finally stand out. So let's go. So before we dive into the demo, I wanted to give you a little bit of context. One of the things that a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know either until I started getting into copywriting, was the difference between really good copywriters and so-so mediocre copywriters is the research they do up front. It's the research they do on the products, and it's the research they do about the customers who are going to buy the products. So that also goes for authors. Some authors can take months building out character profiles for the characters in their stories before they even start the story. And you may have seen this in stories like Star Wars or Marvel or things like this. They have the movie, but then every character in there has just a really deep backstory that they have. So that's the difference between a really good novel and a really good copywriter. So the avatar is something that marketers use in order to coach them on how to speak to a specific audience. And what we do when we create an avatar is we create a document. So this document that is behind this GPT, it's actually a 100-page document. And it's got everything. It's got most of the conversations that I've had. It has, whenever I post ads, I get comments from technicians on the ads. And these are just a wealth of insight. It really gets into the mind of a technician, what they're thinking, what they want in a shop, what pisses them off, what makes them happy, why they would jump from one shop to another shop. I've captured all this information, and it really, the culmination of this is really the fears, frustrations, hopes, and aspirations of your ideal technician. So I just wanted to give you a view under the hood of what has gone into this. I've also put some of the best performing ads that have pulled the most applications from the work that I've done over the last 7 years, and I put those as part of the knowledge document in here as well. So that's what's under the hood, so to speak, in this GPT. And now what I'd like to do is I want to jump right into the demo. And if anybody has any questions, I am happy to answer the questions, but I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to get into that demo. So this is the Technician Find community. So this is a free community for independent shop owners and managers. And once you come into the community, if you click on Classroom, you scroll down to Shop Owners AI Toolbox. And if you don't have access to this, just DM me inside the community and we'll get you access. This is still in beta, but you have access. There's no fees involved in this. And then we've got it set up. Here's the automotive technician avatar. So this is Jason Perkins. We even got a picture of Jason. There he is. And when you scroll down to the bottom of the page and you click on resources, it will take you right into your ChatGPT account, and it will have the GPT for automotive technician. And what we're going to do is we are going to answer some questions here. You might find this interesting. So what I did was I went in and I asked my auto repair shop owner avatar what he would want to see in this demo of an avatar for automotive technicians. And this is what he said. So he says, the tagline should be, Jason doesn't guess what techs want. He's read what they've said. Real talk, real results. That's how you hire better, faster. And his name is Jake, by the way. The first question that Jake had is, will it help me write job ads that techs actually respond to? So can Jason tell me what phrases attract techs and what turns them off? Can he help me say we don't work on weekends in a way that doesn't sound like every other ad? And we don't need an AI that writes like a recruiter. We need one that writes like a real tech talking to another tech in the break room. So that's a common frustration that I hear and a common concern is, gosh, if I use ChatGPT or if I use Claude or Grok or one of these other AI platforms, these large language models to write something, it's going to sound like a robot or it's going to sound like a recruiter. Well, that's all in the prompting. And the big thing about prompting is you have to make sure that you get the voice right, or it will sound like a computer because it's just pulling information off of the internet. So we designed this to actually speak like a technician. So let me show you how this works. Will it help you write a job ad? Well, let me show you this. Let's go into Indeed and let's find automotive technician. And let's just do New Orleans. Let's see if there's any ads for automotive technicians in New Orleans. Okay, here's an HD. Okay, here's automotive mechanics and technicians. Bond Toyota. Let's pick on the dealers, why don't we? So let's take a look at this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the description. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back into the automotive technician avatar. And I'm going to ask him, I'm going to say, hey, Jason. What do you think of my ad for Autotex? And I'm going to paste it right in there. And I'm using version 4.0. This is a good version. The reason why I use this version is we may be doing images. Images 4.0 is good for if you want to actually create images. You can use 4.5. You can use a lot of other different versions. We won't get a lot really deep into that today, but 4.0 is fine for what we're doing right now. Okay, and here's your feedback. So, well, what's working with the ad? So he says it's reputable brand and stability, strong benefits package, training and recognition, work environment language. So those are the things that work for Jason. But he tells you, hey, this is where the ad falls short from a text point of view. One, tone feels corporate, not personal. Yep, that's the number one thing we see in job ads on Indeed for dealers. The language sounds like an HR boilerplate. It doesn't speak with the authenticity or emotional resonance that skeptical texts respond to. No stories, no emotion, no personal touch. Wow, that's great feedback there. Second one, top pay with no numbers equals red flag. Saying market leading pay without specific figures feels vague and bait and switch to techs who have been burned before. Transparency is critical. That's definitely good feedback there. Next one is no mention of work schedule or weekends. You wonder why? Because you work on weekends. This is a glaring miss. One of the biggest deal breakers for techs is being forced to work on weekends or evenings. Not addressing this at all creates skepticism. 4, culture claims without proof. And I'm going to skip down here. No clarity on dispatch or workflow and lack of personalization or voice from leadership. Boom. It covers a lot of the things that over the years, after talking with hundreds of technicians, I've discovered are their biggest frustrations. It addresses them right in the ad. And so it tells you how you can drastically improve your ad. Start with the human, empathetic introduction. Be transparent about pay and hours. Include a note from the shop foreman or manager. Use specific examples to prove culture and highlight opportunities to grow. And best of all, would you like help rewriting this ad with these changes in place? I can also create a high converting version tailored specifically for your ideal tech avatar. So it will rewrite your ad for you, incorporating these best practices. So it can save you lots and lots of time when you are coming in and trying to get your ad just right or trying to figure out why you're not getting applications. This can come in, troubleshoot it for you, and give you those ideas, and best of all, rewrite the ad for you and incorporate those ideas. So anybody have any questions on this one before we move on to the next demo? Great. So this is something that you can use in order to clean up your ads. Next question is, can it help me stand out from every other shop on Indeed and Facebook? So can Jason rewrite my ad to cut through the noise? So we just did that. Will he help me explain our culture, tools, pay plan, or growth plan in ways that matter to techs? Let's take that Let's copy it. And let's go back over and let's say, hey, Jason, will you help me explain our culture, tools, pay plan, or growth plan in ways that matter to techs? So let's see what he says. Absolutely. I'd love to help you do that. Let's break it down into 4 key sections and frame each one in a way that actually resonates with the automotive technicians, using their language, values, and what they really care about. So 1 is culture. We've got your back, no drama. And it tells you how to say it. We run a no drama shop where everyone pulls their weight and nobody gets treated like a number. Our techs help each other out, share what they know, and nobody throws wrenches, literally or figuratively. You'll always know where you stand and your voice matters. We actually listen. And then it tells you why it works. Here's tools and equipment. So it gives you actually what to say. And if you want to take it a step further, I'm going to jump ahead. And here's how you would use that information. So I said, this is great. Please create 5 Facebook posts with this information for passive recruiting purposes. I plan to boost them into my local area. And let's see what happens. So one of the things that makes passive recruiting posts very valuable and have a lot of impact is if you're actually addressing problems or concerns that technicians have. So yeah, it's great when you show your culture. It's great when you show things that you're doing and walkthroughs of the shop and things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis. But if you can really get into the pain points and talk about how you address the pain points, it makes them very, very powerful and gets them shared. So here's a post. What if your shop had your back? Caption, tired of shops where it's every tech for themselves? We do things differently. No drama, no politics, no being treated like a number. Just a crew that helps each other out. A boss who says thanks at the end of the day, and a culture where everyone matters. If that sounds like a breath of fresh air, let's talk. Post 2. Shop's outdated? You're losing hours. If the scanner is always broken, you're waiting for parts all day, you're losing hours. We run with the latest gear, factory scan tools, ADAS calibration, Mitchell, 5 aftermarket scanners, because your time is worth money. And no, you won't have to beg for basic stuff. If it makes the job faster and more accurate, we'll get it. Want a shop that helps you win instead of slows you down? Let's have a convo. Text. Post 3. Good texts don't work for vague pay plans. Caption. Ever sit through a job interview where the manager said, we pay top dollar, then lowballed you with $25 an hour? We don't do that. Our pay plan is clear, competitive, and tied to performance. Bonus when the shop wins. Raises tied to ASE certs, no games. If you're a strong A or B tech with solid diagnostic skills and you're tired of the runaround, come see how we do things. Post 4. From tech to foreman. We'll show you the path. You can only turn wrenches for so long before you start wondering what's next. Here we believe in helping techs grow. That means paid training, ASE cert support, and a clear path to move up if that's what you want. Whether your goal is diagnostics, leadership, or just becoming the most badass tech in the shop, we've got a plan for that. You bring the work ethic, we'll invest in the rest. So can you see how they really speak to the pain points and the desires of technicians? This is really what sets just a plain bland ad that you see on Indeed apart from something that really grabs the attention of a technician that's looking for something different. Post 5. What our techs say about working here. No drama, good hours. I get to work on interesting stuff and actually learn. I've worked in plenty of other shops. This one is different. One of our current techs. We love to use quotes when we can get them. Really good, concise, punchy quotes from techs or employees at the shop. They're very powerful and get a lot of really good results. So what you could do is you could actually run one of these per week. You can go back in and ask for 5 more, and you could just continually having these run. Just post them, boost them for $5 a day, and this would be your passive recruiting campaign. Just going out there consistently, having a line in the water, attracting good talent. Any questions on how to use this? Very simple, very easy. All right, let's move on to the next question. So can Jason create posts that attract passive text on Facebook or Instagram? So we just did that. We're a little bit ahead of the game here. I don't just want job board traffic. Can you help me write something text will share or tag friends in? Well, we just did that. That's how you do it. Can you give me ideas for storytelling, memes, or a day in the life posts? So let's go back over here and let's ask Jason. I always like to use his name. I think it's funny. Hey, Jason.
Yeah, I agree. I have an ideal customer, and her name is Jennifer. And it is funny that she has a car, a dog, and a name. I'm like, okay.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, these guys, they have everything too. Jason's got a life, he's got a wife, he's got kids. His avatar is very detailed. His fears, frustrations, not only with work, but in life in general, what he wants for his kids. I even know that he drives a Ford F-150. They're very, very detailed avatars. And that's what it takes in order to get really good feedback. One of the biggest complaints I hear from shop owners when I'm talking about AI is they're just afraid that things are going to be robotic. And it's something we were talking about a little bit on the front end of this call. And if you prompt correctly, you don't get a robotic output. It's all in the prompting. And there's the old terms, been around for decades and decades. If you put garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So you have to be really precise with your prompting. Okay, and here we go. Post 1, a day in the life. No drama, just work that flows. Style, day in the life. And then it goes through a day in the life. It gives you a feel for what a day looks like. Here's post 2, true story. The day we bought a $2,000 scanner because it saved 20 minutes. One of our techs mentioned that the old scanner was slow, really slow. We checked it out. He was right. It was costing him 20 to 30 minutes a day, so we bought a better one. No debate. That's how we roll. If something makes your work faster, cleaner, or easier, we want you to have it. No more fighting over broken tools or waiting for basic equipment. If your current shop doesn't see it that way, come check ours out. Okay. When the bonus hit, and it actually meant something. This is a story. Our tech Brian hit his bonus goal last month, $1,200 extra on his check. He didn't even know it hit until he saw the deposit. That's how we do it here. Hit your marks, do solid work, get rewarded without fighting for scraps or begging for recognition. Transparent pay, no weird manager math. If you've been busting your ass for a flat rate that never delivers, shoot a text to. And you can always massage these. If this is a little too gruff for you, you can always massage it a little bit, but the basic framework and structure is what's going to grab attention. And it's really speaking to the frustrations of the tech, as I mentioned before. And that's the key, the really important piece. From wrenching to leading, how one tech moved up. So here's a post that really tells a story about advancement opportunities inside your shop. Very simple. It's a little mini story. And these are very, very powerful posts. Day in the life. This is what working here feels like. Boom. Really cool. Very concise. And can you see how just copying that and pasting it in, posting it, and then boosting it for $5? See how easy that is? And it just pushes the information out into your market and gets you visible. It's a really great way for you to market.
One thing I'd like to add about if it was a little gruff for you, just take the word out. I've also learned that if it's 90% of what you want, just tell it, hey, I would like to add, tell it what you're thinking and let it rework the process one more time and see if it's nice or if it's closer to what you want.
Absolutely.
Just tell the prompts what you're looking for makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. That's great feedback. And the other part about that is if you find that your output is consistently leaning in one direction, just incorporate the correction into your prompts going forward. So one of the things that ChatGPT loves to do is it loves to use emojis. It uses emojis everywhere. When you say, hey, make me a Facebook post, it'll put emojis everywhere. And I just say, hey, lay off on the emojis. We don't need all those emojis. And then when you put that into a prompt, then you don't see all those going forward. So as you dial in your voice, you may say, hey, look, we don't want to have any words like ass in there. We don't want to have other things in there that we deem to be unprofessional. And you can also give it a tone and a voice. So you can say warm yet professional, and then the posts will show a warm yet professional. You can show hard edged. You can show understanding, compassionate. There's lots of different ways that you can change the tone of your posts just by the way that you prompt. All right, the next one is, can Jason create posts that, okay, so those are passive texts. We talked about that. Number 4 is, will he help with follow-up messages after tech complies? I love this one. So one of the questions that I get a lot is, hey, what do you say? So for example, I'll get a call from a shop owner and I'll say, hey, Chris, this is great. Let's turn the ads off. We made an offer to somebody. He accepted the offer. He's going to start in 2 weeks. And then I say, okay, all right. Are you open to some coaching? And then they say yes. And then I say, all right, this now is not the time to relax. Now is to have a schedule of reaching out to that tech every 24, 48 hours, 72 hours max. You know, you want to be talking to them at least every 3 days. And if at any point in this process they stop communicating, you need to go to DEFCON 1 and you need to get in touch with them no matter what it takes, because that period, that 2-week period, a lot of things are going to happen in that 2-week period that you don't know about. His current shop, his or her current shop is going to come back and make an offer, counter offer. His friends or family or relatives are going to tell them that they're crazy to leave. They're going to get cold feet, all different types of things that can happen in that 2-week period. So short of saying, hey, if you can come in next Monday, we'll give you a bonus instead of waiting 2 weeks. That's one way to handle it. But the other way to handle it is just make sure that you're reaching out to them at least every 48 to 72 hours. And the next question I get is, well, Chris, what do I say? Well, there's lots of things you can say. You can, hey, we've got some paperwork for you. Can you swing by the shop and fill out some paperwork? Hey, we've got your base set up. Why don't you swing by and take a look at it, see if there's anything that you need? Hey, we're having a barbecue on Friday. Why don't you stop by and meet our folks? There's lots of different things that you can say. But if you need some help on that, this is a perfect way to do that. So let's use this as a prompt. And this is, what do I say after the interview to keep them warm? So these are going to be 2 different scenarios. One scenario is you haven't made an offer yet and you just want to keep them warm. So it says, great question. What you say after the interview can make or break the hire. Texts, especially the good ones, are suspicious by default and often weighing multiple shops. Here's what to send them to keep them warm and to build trust without pressure. And by the way, here's another pro tip. If somebody is talking to you, just assume they're talking to 2 other shops. That's just how it works. I know it seems pretty intuitive and yeah, like duh, but just remember that. And you want to move the hiring process forward. You want to always let the tech know what the next step is so that they're not waiting around on you. Because if they're waiting around on you, somebody's going to sneak in the back door and they're going to get in their ear and start having that conversation. So you just want to make sure that you're moving the process forward. Okay, so here's a post-interview message. Thanks again for coming in. Really enjoyed talking with you and getting a feel for what you're about. You clearly take pride in your work, and that's the kind of energy we value around here. Just wanted to say no pressure at all. I know changing shops is a big move, and you've probably seen your fair share of places that talked a big game and didn't deliver. If you've got any questions, big or small, about pay, workflow, team vibe, call or text anytime. We're an open book. Whether you decide to join us or not, I appreciate your time and the work you do in this industry. Really nice, just follow up. And you have another for a few days later if they haven't decided yet. Hey, text name, just checking in, not to push, just to see if you had any lingering questions or things that you want to double check about the shop, pay plan, or team. We've got a solid crew and you'd be a great fit, but it's got to feel right for you. Let me know if you want to come back for a working interview or just hang out with the crew for a bit. Zero pressure. Just really simple. And this can be a text message. You can massage this for whatever you feel comfortable with, but this allows you, so you're not looking at a blank screen. You're not sitting there going, oh gosh, what do I say to this person? You've got it here. And then here's a bonus tip. If they showed real potential, send a text from the lead tech or foreman a day later. Wow, this is a great tool, a great idea. So, hey, it was cool meeting you. You'd fit in great with their crew. Hope to see you again soon. So peer-to-peer contact makes it feel real and builds buy-in faster than anything from management. And then it will actually write a version for this with a specific tech. So if you put in details about your interview, details about the tech, it will customize the follow-up for you. Super powerful, super easy. So let's do the flip side of this coin. So we looked at after the interview. So let's ask Jason. So my prompt is, hey, Jason, I just made an offer to a tech and he accepted. He gave us 2 weeks notice and we'll start after that. Please help me develop a follow-up timeline every 72 hours till his box drops. Alternate phone, email, and text message. Let's see what Jason comes up with. Nice work locking him in. It's always so positive. And a smart move, wanting a follow-up cadence. That 72-hour touchpoint rhythm is for keeping momentum and trust high below is your onboarding warm-up sequence. From offer acceptance to toolbox drop, rotating between text, phone, and email to keep it natural and low pressure. Day 1, offer accepted. So it just goes through day 1, day 3, just checking in. Anything specific you'd like to work on or any questions popping out about the process, gear, or systems? No rush. So that is a phone call or voicemail. Day 6, just wanted to shoot over a few quick things to make your transition easy. Reminding them of the start date, dress code, where to park, who to ask for. Day 9, you're 1 week out. Just wanted to say again how excited we are to have you join us. The team's been asking when you start. Day 12, hey, can't believe you're only a few days now. Just checking in to see if there's anything you need. Lift space, tool storage request, gear questions, etc. Night before the start. Tomorrow's the big day. Your bay's ready, your team's ready, and we got lunch covered. Let me know what time you're rolling in, and we'll meet you at the door. So you can see how easy it is. These are just very simple, very short. They're just touches, and it does a few things. Gosh, I can't tell you how many times I have heard from a shop that did an offer, and then the tech gave 2 weeks, and then they basically didn't communicate with the tech for that 2 weeks, and then Monday morning rolls around and crickets. Nothing happens. And then they spend the next week trying to get in touch with the tech because the tech doesn't want to talk to them because they basically went a different direction and they're embarrassed and they don't want to talk with them. So sometimes they don't even know what ended up happening. But if you follow a program like this, where you're constantly reaching out, not only does it build trust, but it also alerts you if there's any problems that are cropping up. So, any questions on this? All right. So it's just a really easy way to follow up, and Jason will write your follow-up messages for you, so you don't have to go through any of that heavy lifting. The next one is, does Jason understand the mindset of today's texts? Has he really read all those conversations from the past 7 years? Yes, not only conversations, but he's also read comments on social media posts, on the Technician Fund board, lots of different things. And then we have a complete avatar of Jason as well. Does he get what techs care about? Tools, training, trust, drama-free environments? Yes, he does. He gets it. If he doesn't talk like a real tech or understand our world, I won't trust him. But if he nails it, I'm hooked. Yep, Jason will nail it. I promise you. Okay, number 6. What can he build for me right now? So give me live examples. So we already talked about a We're Hiring post. So I showed you that. Actually, you know what? Let's grab this. Let's do another one. Hey, Jason, please create a We're Hiring Facebook post for a B-Tech who's tired of dealership politics. And Jason says, absolutely. Here's a Facebook post crafted specifically for a solid B-Tech who's sick of dealership drama, dispatch politics, and corporate games. It's conversational, authentic, and designed to stop the scroll. So, post, B-Tech, sick of dealership drama. You know the drill. You show up early, you're the first one done, but somehow the favorites still get the gravy work. The dispatcher's playing games, management's MIA, and the service advisor just promised you'd look at it real quick. If that sounds like your dealership life, maybe it's time for a change. And then it gives some of the details. And you bring hustle, and the solving skills will bring the stability, pay, and respect. Real simple, and you can just copy that, paste it right into whatever social media platform you want to. A 3-text, next one is a 3-text sequence to re-engage a no-show. That's a good one. Usually what happens when I'm talking with a shop owner and somebody no-shows them, they're like, I don't want to deal with them. If they can't show up to an interview, then they don't want to have them here. And you know what? I get it. And that's a legitimate response. The problem with today, and it's really weird, and I don't know why this is, but people don't seem to have calendars, or they don't seem to put appointments into their calendars. And I don't know what it is. It just seems to be acceptable these days if you don't get 6 or 7 reminders to not show up for a meeting. I won't give you my opinion about that, but that seems to be the way it is. So, first of all, reminders are important. If you've got an in-person interview or even a phone interview and you have that initial conversation, when I was in sales, we should call it book a meeting from a meeting. You know, that's the big thing with salespeople is you never get off the phone without booking the next meeting. And the funny thing is, y'all know that about your customers, right? Because your service advisors finish up that phone call and it's like, hey, you know, we've got these maintenance items on here that need to be taken care of. Let's talk about that the next time that we speak. So you know it with customers, it's the same thing with technicians. So, all right, you finish up that first call. This is the next step. This is the next thing that we're going to do. And then if you're going to have an in-person meeting, then you just send them the email and say, hey, we'll see you at the shop on this date. And then you want to preferably the day before, hey, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. And then preferably the day of, hey, we'll see you in about an hour. If you need instructions on where to park or directions or anything like that, let us know. That's going to make appointments stick. Yeah, that's extra work, but if you can make those appointments stick, then it's going to be better off in the long term. But what do you do when somebody doesn't show? Well, first of all is I always tell my clients, don't get pissed off right off the bat. Things happen. And I've heard stories about awful things happening. And there was a legitimate reasons why somebody didn't show up for an interview. And they just didn't reach out because they felt embarrassed. Things like car accidents or family emergencies or things like that. And they, instead of having that conflict and feeling embarrassed, they just skipped it. They just ghosted you. So sometimes there's legitimate reasons why people miss interviews and you just want to give them the benefit of the doubt. So you can create a sequence to re-engage a no-show.
I'd also like to add that gives you an opportunity to prove that you're a humane, understanding employer or something. Like, just give them the benefit of the doubt, like you said. Let them prove you wrong, but at least you're the bigger person in the conversation.
Absolutely. And hopefully everybody understands this. You're building long-term relationships too. And if you're understanding, we all know this. Technicians know other technicians. And if you run a professional operation, you show that courtesy, you show that grace, they may refer you to one of their buddies that's not happy with where they are. So you always want to take the high road when you can and don't burn any bridges. I always say that. I say that a lot when somebody says, hey, I'm getting $3 more an hour from the dealer, so I'm going to go to the dealer. I've had dozens of conversations like these with shop owners, and they're pretty hot, understandably, because their good tech is leaving for a few dollars more an hour. But I say, you know what? Leave the door open, because they're going to get over there. And I've seen this happen time after time after time. They're going to get over there. The grass is not going to be greener. And if you have left it in a good place, then they will feel okay with reaching back out to you and kind of eating a little crow and saying, oh gosh, I made a mistake, subjugating their ego a little bit and saying, can I come back? So you always want to keep that door open. So with that being said, hey, Jason, I just had a tech no-show an interview. Please create a 3-text sequence to re-engage this no-show. So here's a respectful but effective 3-text follow-up sequence to re-engage a tech who no-showed an interview. The tone is understanding but firm. It gives them an easy way to save face and rebook without feeling shamed. Perfect. Hey, sorry we missed you today. I know life gets hectic sometimes. I just wanted to check in and make sure that everything's okay on your end. No worries if you need to reschedule. Just shoot me a quick reply and we'll figure out a better time. Boom. Perfect. Simple, short, to the point, and it gives them a way to save face. And then here's another one. Text 2, 48 hours later. Hey, name. Totally understand if something came up. Just wanted to say if you're still looking for a solid shop with no politics, we're still hiring. If now's the right time, no hard feelings. If you're still interested, let's find a time that works better for you. And then 3 to 5 days after the no-show, quick note. We've had some strong texts come through lately, but I remembered our convo and didn't want to close the door on you. If things settle down and you want to reconnect, shoot me a message. We'd still like to meet you. Very simple. It allows them to save face, and then you might be able to resurrect that relationship. You can also use this for headlines. They call these scroll stoppers. That's a little redundant, but it'll get the point. See, and this is a good example. You don't have to be perfect with your prompting. In most cases, they'll know what you say. As long as you're clear on what the outcome is, your grammar doesn't have to be perfect. Your spelling doesn't even have to be perfect. But as long as you're clear and it's structured correctly, you can get the result.
If it doesn't, go back to the original one and try again.
Yeah, try again. So here we go. Flat rate is fine until the car count drops. Boy, that would get some clicks, I'm sure. If you've ever had to beg for gravy work, read this. We don't have a dispatcher. We have a fair shop board. You shouldn't need a side hustle just to be a tech. Wow, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Good techs don't quit the work. They quit the they quit the BS. I'd probably say BS. I've used BS in ads before and it's very, very effective. Yeah, they'd quit the BS. Yeah, these are great. These are all great. So these are all scroll stoppers. These are scroll stoppers. Okay, and then will this save me time and make me look sharp? I don't have hours to write perfect job ads. Well, I hope I've dispelled that rumor right here, right now on this call. It just takes a few seconds. All you need to do is post in your old ad with all the details of your shop, and it will give you everything that you need in order to clean it up. And then if I can just tell Jason what I need and he spits out something usable in 30 seconds, I'm in. Yep, I demonstrated that too. I showed you that. And then if I can use it on myself or hand it off to my service advisor or office manager and trust it, it'll sound right. So I want to say something about this. In my last demo, I did a demo of the negative review response generator. That's also in the school community. And I'm just going to show you that. So this allows you to come in, you can click on the link and it'll take you in and drop in your negative review. You just copy and paste the negative review from the customer, and then the GPT will ask you a few questions, and then it will pop out a response. So this GPT is the same as the other GPT from this perspective. And I talked about this in my last demo. I talked about Andy Warhol, and I think everybody knows of Andy Warhol, the guy that did the Campbell soup cans graphics and the Marilyn Monroe graphics and all these different graphics, and how prolific he was. And I mentioned at one time, Andy Warhol's work was 15% plus of the entire global art market. He was so prolific. He just cranked out art, cranked it and cranked it and cranked it. And he was known for making art into a assembly line type of operation and just cranking it out. And that was unheard of up until him, with a few exceptions. There were some artists who had sort of his idea, but he did it on a mass scale. And what he did was that first 10% of the art was his idea. He set it up. He ideated what was going to happen. And then 80% in the middle, which was all the grinding, the setup, the production, all of these things happened with someone else. And then the last 10%, he'd step back in again and he'd put his magic touches on it. And that's what we're doing here. And if you think about AI and any of these GPTs that I've created, there's 10% on the front end where you're going to have to think through what you want. You're going to have to think through, okay, what am I trying to accomplish? And then you put all that into ChatGPT, and the AI does the grinding for you. It puts everything in the right place and gives you output. And then you're going to come back in and you're going to just QC that output. You make a few tweaks here and there, and then you have something that's really great. Sometimes it'll surprise you and it'll come out with something that's just perfect and you just copy and paste it. But usually you're going to have to make a few tweaks. But it's fine because it's a lot better than staring at a blank screen. So you go in, you input the information, it does the grinding, it comes back, you put your magic touch on it, and then you post it. So that's the way to think about this and a way to use all of these tools. And again, this is all in the Technician Find community. It's all free. If you're a shop owner or a GM, an independent shop owner or a GM, come into the community and check it out. We've got lots of cool stuff, lots of GPTs that'll help you save time. And with that, I am going to open it up for questions and wrap things up. Any questions?
I'd like to make a comment on your 10-80-10. I was doing a holiday card that I'm preparing for this year. I used the avatars, my ideal customer, some of your other stuff you had. I asked it what it wanted to see, what would be important, and whiteboarded it. I just wrote down the ideas and brainstormed. Handed it over to my team, said, here's what I'm thinking. They kind of put a bunch of stuff together, and then I finally approved. So that was the 10-80-10, was organize some thoughts that I thought were important, but the people who interact with these things all the time do the more detailed work or whatever. I don't want to say detailed because obviously it's at both ends, but let them do what they felt proud of also is how I guess I mean it. And then just I put my final approval on it. So it was what I wanted and what I expected.
Outstanding. Yep, outstanding. Did they get in and use ChatGPT themselves to generate the output after your initial input?
I started showing them that. We were using Canva and some of your stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
My crew's not the youngest. I need a couple of more guys under 30, and they'll be a little more open. Right now, we're all in the stage of we're not going to get hurt if we use this. So yeah, they're a little hesitant, but it's getting there. And I will say the more I use it, and the more we all use it, the more they lean towards it. So yes, it's building quickly. But,
Yeah, that's a great example. And there's a couple of things that I want to unpack about that. One is kudos for getting in there and diving in and realizing that you're not going to break anything. And then also, these tools become more powerful when you use them together. So when you start using ChatGPT with Claude, and then you have Canva in here, and Canva actually has an AI module too. So you can use AI inside of Canva, and then you use things like Perplexity and Ideogram and things for images and Midjourney. Then you can start doing things that are even more powerful. And as I showed you today, I'll use my automotive technician avatar in conjunction with my shop owner avatar. And I'll ask a question to my shop owner avatar, and then I'll get a response. And then I'll go into my technician avatar and I'll say, hey, what do you think about this? And as I mentioned before, I'll close on this, is those questions that I generated today were from my automotive shop owner avatar, because I asked Jake, my shop owner avatar, I said, hey, Jake, I've got a GPT that's an automotive technician GPT. What questions would you ask if you had access to this? And that's what we worked off of today. Those are the actual questions that Jake had about, hey, how do I work with a GPT that is an automotive technician? If I had this knowledge base, what would I ask it? And that's what we did. So that's when it gets really cool and very powerful.
the other thing I'd like to mention that may not be obvious to everybody, but you've always said in other things when I've talked with you at other Zoom meetings like this is Word documents. Keep this stuff in a Word document. And I've also found editing it in a Word document is easier than when you put it back in. Just say, hey, here's what I thought about what you wrote. Could you help me proofread it? And it's pretty easy. So,
yeah, that's another great point. If you have G Suite, one of the easiest ways to do it is you can just keep a Google Doc too. You can do it as a Word doc or a Google Doc. It doesn't matter. But some of these things are live, living documents. So my automotive technician document is a living document. If I post an ad and then I get a bunch of comments from texts on my Facebook ad, and some of them are relevant, I'll grab those comments and I'll put them right into that living document so that we have that information there. You know, a tech comments on flat rate pay, or a tech comments on something they saw in the shop that they didn't like, or something they saw in the shop that they did like. I'll put it into that living document and upload it into the GPT so that it's constantly evolving with what's going on in the industry.
a little bit of my lack of tech savvy, I meant Google Doc, not Word Doc.
You know, Word docs work too. I have thousands of Word docs, and it's however it's easiest for you to use.
Yeah.
For me, it's easier to use the Google Doc because you can just export it right into a PDF, and then you can upload it right to ChatGPT. You know, you can upload Word docs too. I just find it's easier to work with PDFs. But heck, if you really wanted to, you can connect your Google Drive to whatever LLM you're going to use. But don't let it get too complicated. Just keep it simple.
That might be a 2026 goal for me.
Yeah. Well, if I get a bunch of questions on it, I'll do a demo on it. But hey, well, thanks for being here, Rob. It was great to see you. And I'm going to close it out. And if anybody has any questions, ask your questions in the Technician Find community. I'm in there every day. I've got 2 of my staff that's in there every day, and we've got lots of amazing shop owners and GMs that are all helping each other hire faster. So we'll see you soon.
Thank you.